Hello, this is my video and I'll be talking about AEW's week in wrestling. Outside the pay-per-view, which I will review separately, it was a good week. Dynamite saw some story advancements while Collision focused on having some great matches all around. Dynamite started with the mixed tornado tag match, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I enjoyed the women being portrayed in equal footing with the men. In fact, Swerve hit a house call to Marina and Mox hit a paradigm shift to Willa after the match. Mox and Swerve showed some pretty good chemistry that had some good spots, and overall good match that Swerve and Willow won. FTR has some developments this week as Dax gives his fine money straight to the ref after putting his hands on Dynamite before. He tries to hug Cash after apologizing, but Cash is mad as hell and denies the hug, saying they need to talk after Dynasty. But that's not all, as Cash Wheeler has a great singles match against Pac on Collision. Now it's nice and technical at first, then became a battle of athleticism. That Cash ultimately loses after being distracted by Dax and Cope fighting Claudio and Yuta on the outside. I hope FTR ends up turning on Cope, as I haven't been very interested in FTR for a while, but still recognizing they'll always put on a great match. Tony and Ford have a decent match on Dynamite. Big Bill and Brian Keith kill some jobbers as Bobby Lashley and MVP are watching ringside. And just before that, they were talking to MJF as he tried to pitch himself for joining the Hurt Syndicate. But Bobby ain't rocking with all that white boy rigmarole and intimidates MJF into leaving. Some more little nice matches on Dynamite, like Brody King versus Lance Archer, and Ospreay teaming up with Kevin Knight to wrestle Lee Johnson, and famed shitty wrestler Blake Christian. All this match made me think about was how bad Blake is and how good Kevin Knight is. But this is a good time to get into the Owen Hart Cup, as it's announced that Will Ospreay will be wrestling Kevin Knight at Dynasty in the first rounds of the tournament, with Jay White being replaced as it's revealed that he was attacked by the Death Riders and will be out with a hand injury. He talked a little bit about this on Collision backstage. They showed the men and women's side of the tournament, which has some great matchups, with the most interesting parts being Hangman in the first rounds against a wild card, who a lot of people are saying is Josh Alexander, as it's been reported that he was signed with AEW over TNA. And Athena being on the same side of the bracket as Mercedes Moné, meaning they'll most likely go one-on-one in this tournament, and Athena being on the same side of the bracket as Mercedes Moné, meaning they'll most likely go one-on-one in this tournament. Surprisingly, not in the finals considering how big of a matchup that'll be. Cope and Claudio were the main event for Dynamite, but to be honest, I couldn't watch. After that Revolution match, Cope has fucked me up, and I'm not sure if I can trust Sir Copeland with another main event match. Moving on to the rest of Collision, it started off with a very good tag team match of Takeshita and Fletcher versus Powerhouse Hobbs and Tomohiro Ishii in a very physical match. Max Caster loses yet another open challenge, but to Mark Briscoe this time. But he'll get another opportunity at Dynasty, as he'll have another open challenge on the 0 hour of that show. Top Flight and the crew finally have a match after months of build, and it was pretty good. Two teams of very good and smooth high flyers that end up in a roll-up victory for Top Flight, which causes the crew to attack them post-match. AR Fox comes out for the save, but Nick Wayne also comes out and hits his finish on him to set up for their trios match on the Dynasty 0 hour. A couple backstage face-to-faces setting up Cole versus Garcia and some of the matches for the Women's Own Heart Cup. Ricochet then comes out to commentate Speedball vs. Dralistico, which is a great match with some pretty good commentary from Ricochet. Interesting that the second he leaves WWE, he becomes better than half of their roster. Very interesting. Then the Collision main event, where the women gain another spot, giving us Mercedes Moné and Harley Cameron versus Julia Hart and Athena. It was a really great match where every woman came off looking really good and gave us a sneak peek at what Athena versus Mercedes will look like. Overall, a good week and a great boot for Dynasty and the Owen Hart Cup, which I'm very excited for.